Welcome to this video on Muscular Anatomy, Chapter 10. In this video, we will go over some muscle terminology, muscle shapes, and muscle names. Let's begin with some muscle terminology. Most muscles cross at least one joint and are attached at articulating bones. When a muscle contracts, it brings one bone towards the other. The origin or head of a muscle is the muscle end that attaches to the more stationary bone. The insertion of a muscle is the muscle end attached to the more movable bone. The belly of a muscle is the fleshy portion of the muscle between the origin and insertion. This image shows biceps brachii and its origins on the scapula, its insertion on the radius, and the belly located between both of those. Tendons are connective tissue structures that attach muscles to bone. An aponeurosis is a very broad tendon. An example of an aponeurosis is the white structure connecting the frontalis to the occipitalis that makes it the occipitofrontalis. An agonist is a muscle that, when it contracts, it causes an action. The antagonist is a muscle that works against the agonist. An example would be when doing biceps curls or lifting weights, the biceps brachii is the agonist while the triceps brachii is the antagonists. Synergists are muscles that work together to cause a movement. The prime mover is a muscle that plays a major role in accomplishing a specific movement. Fixators are muscles that stabilize the joints crossed by the prime mover. They prevent the movement of the origin of the prime mover. Now let's consider the shapes of muscles. Muscle fibers are arranged in bundles called fascicles. The arrangement of fasciculi in relation to the tendon can vary. Fascicle arrangement correlates with the amount of power a muscle can produce and the range of motion a muscle can produce. Circular muscles have fascicles arranged in a circle around an opening, and they act as a sphincter to open and close the opening. An example of a circular muscle is orbicularis oris. A convergent muscle is triangular in shape, starting broadly and then tapering to a single tendon. The pectoralis major is an example of a convergent muscle. Fusiform muscles have fascicles that lie parallel to the long axis of the muscle. The belly is larger in diameter than the ends. Biceps brachii is an example of a fusiform muscle. Parallel muscles have fascicles that lie parallel to each other and to the long axis of the muscle. Examples include the trapezium-shaped trapezius muscle, the rhomboidal-shaped rhomboideus, and the rectangular-shaped rectus abdominis. Pennate muscles have fascicles that originate from a tendon that runs the length of the entire muscle. There are three different patterns. Unipennate muscles have fascicles on only one side of the tendon. Semimembranosus is an example of a unipennate muscle. Bipennate muscles have fascicles on two sides of the tendon. Rectus femoris is an example of a bipennate muscle. Multipennate muscles have fascicles arranged in many places around a central tendon. They spread out at angles to many smaller tendons. The deltoid is an example of a multipennate muscle. Let's conclude our discussion with considering muscle names. Muscles are named according to several criteria, including the following. Location, like mentalis muscle is on the chin, and brachialis is on the arm. Some names include clues about their size, like gluteus maximus, where maximus means large, or longus can mean long. Names can also identify the orientation of the fascicles, like rectus meaning straight and oblique meaning at an angle. The origin and insertion of the muscle can be included, like brachioradialis. It has its origin at the upper arm area or brachial area and its insertion on the radius. Sternocleidomastoid also identifies its origin and insertions. The number of heads the muscle has can also be part of its name. Biceps muscles have 2 heads, whereas triceps have 3. And the muscle's function can also be included in its name, like flexor, extensor, abductor, and masseter. In this video, we discussed some muscle terminology, muscle shapes, and muscle names.